Okay, so today we're taking a look at Tom. Just worked with Tom the other day, and we did a lot of work on his setup position and his ability to get in for layups. As I want you to see, the video on the left here is when we first got there. I asked Tom to take a layup like he would normally do when he's practicing or when he's in his games. What I want you to pay attention to is his setup position. His feet, if you see there, are pretty much right on top of each other, which is a mistake a lot of younger players make. Number one, that's going to make it very difficult to move to get out of that position. The second thing is you're not going to have a really good center of balance. So if a defender comes up and presses you, you're going to have a hard time getting them away from you. The third thing is, as you're going to see, it's going to limit the length of the step that you can take to the basket. So we're going to go through and watch the first layup here. So he does a pretty good job of, if you could tell he's been practicing this, he keeps his head up, he's focusing, he's got a pretty good angle going to the basket, and he makes it. Now, one of the main things that I talk about with all the players that I work with is there's a difference between making a layup and making a game layup. So that's a layup that's great that he's able to make it, but he's probably, if he's moving at this speed in the game, is not going to be able to get to that basket quick enough to get by his defender. So what we're going to see is the video on the right is after we've been working throughout the lesson. We try this again on the right side, and the first thing I want you to see is the length in between his feet is much better. All right, we still could get a little bit wider than that, but it's much better than it is on the left. His setup position, his shoulders, instead of being straight up and down, he's got some tilt to his back. So before we were kind of straight, now we've got some bend to us so we can move a little bit easier. So our feet being wider and our back being lower is going to give us a greater success rate of getting by that defender on our first step. So we're going to take a look at what he does here. You can see the length of that first step is much better. As you can go back and kind of compare it to that first step on this side. All right, and you can see on the second step. All right, let's freeze it there where that second step comes down. If you look to see where the second step on this side comes down, all right, we're at that second. We would be right here. All right, and that's where we are on the right. So by the time we take our second step, we're about double the length that we are on the left. All right, we're also only taking one dribble to get to the basket, which is going to make us quicker. All right, so on the third step, we get all the way into the paint. On the third step here, we're basically getting to where that second step was on the right. So just that little adjustment in the starting position, getting the feet a little wider, getting the body a little lower, is going to make him a much quicker player and a much more productive player. Now, this is another thing that I battle with a lot of times with my players. You'll see his layup attempt here. We're going to hit that backboard and we're going to miss it off the top. And that's because we're not used to going that speed, and that's okay. I'd rather see players take that layup and continue to miss it and try to figure out how to make a layup at full speed than to consistently make the layup here on the left, because that layup is not really going to translate into a game situation. So even though it may feel like we're, all right, well, now we're missing our layup, we're getting a better idea of how to take that layup in a game, and that's eventually going to make us a better basketball player.